Hey folks, welcome to this 3.19 Golem build. This is Flame Golem. Now before we get into how to level it, how it performs and all of that stuff, I just want to say this. This is a simple build. It will be designed to take you to like the end game of like the Atlas. Then maybe once you've made some currency or you want to invest into it some more, it can probably do some higher tier bosses and stuff. This is not going to be the super meta one-shot everything build, but it does work. I have been enjoying it, and my last video that did really well was called like a simple bow build. So this is like a simple minion build that you can do. It will allow you to be playing the game, sort of learning about the game without being stressed out by all loads of complicated mechanics. So as you can see on your screen, you've obviously got 3 flame golems, we have a chaos golem and 3 spectres. And the general pattern of play is you're going to run around, throw out wave of conviction, which is going to curse everything, make them weaker to fire, and then your minions will do all of your work. I'll show you exactly how it performs on some random map. I've only just begun, so we'll just give you a quick demonstration, and then once you've seen how the build performs, we'll run you through some gears and how to level it. So this is basically how the build is going to perform. So you can see my keyboard, you know, there are a lot of builds that are very APM intensive. I've not fixed my flasks or anything. This is not the end of the build by any stretch of the imagination, but literally I'm just going to be cursing things. So you can see I'm not using anything on my keyboard. I'm just going to be right clicking wave of conviction, and my minions will keep up with me, and I can obviously use my quicksilver flask, sprint through like this, and if I ever get in danger or I want my minions to recast, let's say I get into the middle of a pack, you know, say I dive a little bit ahead here, I can then press the Q button, which will convocate, which will bring all of the minions towards me and will automatically cast. We have a Val Molten Shell for some defensive things. And basically we're just going to be flame dashing through and bringing our minions back to us. And that's the playstyle. There's nothing more to it. If that looks really, really boring and it's not your kind of build, I understand. But if you just want to chill, you know, whilst you're doing blights and stuff, your minions can fight for you. You just want to work your way through the Atlas in a chill manner. You don't want to, you know, be bothered too much about gear and stats and all of that. Then this could be an interesting build for you. So you get the general premise of the build. This is how it's going to be functioning. I'm level 80. I've just done my Uber lab, and really I'm just beginning the Atlas. I'm up to like tier 5 maps or something like that. So you can see how the build's going to function, right? So what we'll jump out to not waste your time is we'll show you how it works. So the general gist, if we go here, is there's going to be a few things. Yes, notepad, very professional. So there are 3 spectres I've got here. The 3 spectres, one is from the Arena Master, the Drox map, one is called the Pale Seraphim, and one is a Chieftain. Now one of these basically gives you frenzy charges. It did kind of get nerfed, but it's still okay apparently. One of them does a debuff, and one of them makes them take like 15% extra damage. If I can bring them over here, you might be able to see them. Where are my spectres? Are they gonna play a game with me and follow? There's the Chieftain. There's that kind of monkey looking thing. Then there's like this spider looking one that looks like something out of Alien versus Predator. And then you've got this dude with a sword. Now the way you do this is you literally type in /global 6666, right? And then when you go into global, you'll see you're connected to it, and you can already see people are in here discussing about golems and spectres, and then when you have collected them, you'll just ask somebody, yo, has anybody got this spectre? Once you've then collected it, as long as if you're desecrating, you will be able to re-raise them. So if they die, you'll be able to get them. It's kind of like your desecrate holds them. So don't worry too much about the spectres. They're sort of later on, but that is how you would get the spectres. And yeah, they haven't died yet, but you know, I was a bit confused about the whole spectre thing, but they do help. So if you can get your spectres early, I would do so, because yeah, it does add a lot of damage and just general, it makes the build feel a bit more fluid. So yeah. Now, if we take a look at how we actually leveled the build, so if we jump here, if you go to the YouTube channel page itself, if you come down here, I've started to now upload my Twitch archives to YouTube. So you'll see if you scroll here that I've started to put up how I leveled it. Now, I'm not going to pretend like this was some phenomenal leveling experience, but the way I level things is I level it in a manner which I enjoy, and I want to try something new. So you can level this build with SRS, with Absolution, as well as another good one. But because I was new to minions and I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I knew I would be playing minions till the end of the league, if that makes sense, I wanted to make my leveling experience a little bit more fun. So what I ended up doing, as you can see here, is I'm using Freezing Pulse to get through with a wand, and I'm then transitioning at some point. You'll notice I am using Arc. Now this is not the correct way to level the build, but I'm just saying, like, with this build you can see I managed to get through the gearing and leveling, and eventually you'll get to your first lab and you will have golems with you. And what I chose to do was I chose to have 2 flame golems with me, and I carried on using Arc. Again, it's not the most efficient method of leveling, but I just like to experiment with skills, and the general idea behind the build is the flame golem is unlocked at level 34, so you pretty much can do whatever you want up until level 34. You're a witch and you're going to be spec'd into basically minion nodes. So if we go to Path of Building, which you should download if you've not already downloaded it, what you'll see is there are a couple of things. So on this leveling tree, which I can give you, I've taken these extra points which this other person didn't. So on the tree that I was given, you didn't take these points. However, I took minion skill duration, so I got a bit more damage early on, and I took some lightning cast speed and damage, and a little bit of elemental damage for Arc, and I ran through the campaign. Eventually what you're going to end up doing is you're going to be heading over to like this side of the tree where you get all of your minion nodes and things. And I ended up taking Spiritual Aid because that basically means the minion damage affects you. So for the longest time, rather than just running around with some weak golems, I ended up having an actual Wave of Conviction and Arc that were doing damage. So I wasn't just running around trying to get Wave of Conviction to curse and hope my minions did stuff. What I was doing was I was running around with Arc, and you'll see that my Arc is, you know, it's doing pretty good damage there. It's not like rubbish by any stretch of the imagination. You know, we're doing our labs and stuff like that. We're able to clear the minions, and because I was spec'd into this node that allows minion nodes to affect you, then yeah, we could get through it. But the general idea, if you want to be really efficient about it, is you can use SRS, minion damage, Wed, minion speed, Unleash, Spell Echo, right? If you want to whiz your way through the campaign, and then when you get to level 34 you can put your golems in. However, I just decided to just have fun for the first 34 levels and just play whatever I fancied. It's up to you really. It's a pretty simple option. When you're in the Path of Building, there will be links to level, and there are also some things that if you've got a little bit of extra currency, maybe you start in the league, you can use things like these, which are called a clay shaper. They're going to give you an extra golem. The gear will go through as well, but you'll notice that if you're just leveling, right, and you have a little bit of extra currency, maybe it's not your first character, or maybe you've just found a few chaos along the way, these are some great leveling items. So Darkness Enthroned, which is this belt, which allows you at level 1 to put in some abyssal jewels. You can get +1 fire wands for super cheap. There's also a recipe if you go to the POE wiki. Obviously some jewels you can put a tabula on. A Crown of Thorns is a ton of energy shield, Wanderlust boots, and the power amulet is just useful. So you can, what they call, twink your way through the campaign and you'll be absolutely fine. But I just ran through with Arc up until I got my golems. Now the general idea behind the tree, again, it will be in the Path Building, and you can look at my leveling VODs, is you're just filling out the tree to go ahead and basically get a lot of dual sockets. Now the good and bad thing about this, I suppose, is there are no real gear requirements. Basically you're just going around and collecting these primordial harmonies which give your golems cooldown. I was mapping without any of these, so you don't need any when you start your mapping experience. These are like I think they're like 7 chaos. So once you do a few maps, you'll pick up some currency, you'll pick up some chaos, and you'll be able to buy a jewel. You'll do some more maps, you'll get another jewel. And that's how I've been doing it. But you can notice here, I haven't got enough money for another jewel, so for the moment, I've just put in some life. And we're going to go around and take basically the nodes that we need from our path of building to get through. The gear is just literally life and resists. That's all I've got so far, is just life and resist gear. The only gear that I've got that's somewhat half decent, which isn't even decent, is a +1 minion helmet, which this cost me 1 chaos orb, and this +1 to fire gems, which cost me 1 chaos orb. So I've spent 2 chaos. A pledge of hands, I bought this for, I think I bought it for 9 chaos, and I managed to 5-link it with the jewelers and fusers that I've found throughout playing the game. So this didn't really cost too much. And the reason we're using this pledge of hands, by the way, is basically it's giving the golem spell echo on top of greater spell echo. So it's basically going to fire out a load of extra spells. Up until that point, I was just using wands. You can use a couple of clay shapers, use some +1 fire wands if you want. But literally, it's just life resists. You'll notice from all my guides, I like to just keep it simple. So it's just life resists. And as you make your way around the tree and you've got a little bit of currency, you can pop one of these jewels in. And then eventually you can get a cluster jewel. This cost me 5 chaos. And then we'll make our way to renewal, which gives us double damage. And then we've got some more jewel sockets if we want to put in more primordial harmonies. There are a ton of other things that you can be purchasing that are going to make the build stronger. However, we're not at that point yet. But to give you an example, if I go to the Path of Exile website, I can show you the type of things that you want to look out for. So if you go to POE trade, pretty much these are the types of things you're going to want. So your abyssal jewels are going to be damage if you've used a minion skill, and fire damage. Additional fire damage for minions. Minions hinder. That obviously is useful. You can get cheap +1 wands. You can see that 1 alchemy orb. These are the only expensive items which are super late game. These make your golems aggressive. They are 2 divine orbs. And the primordial harmonies, as you can see, at 7 chaos. And then the next big one is if you've got 3 or more of those primordial harmonies and you put one of these in, you can get another golem. But obviously, until you've earned that much currency, what I've been doing is I've just been putting in as many as these as I can get in, because they're only 7 chaos. The helmet, etc., is just going to be life resist, 5C for somewhat with 90 life and 2 good resists. Gloves are going to be the same, 2C life resists. Eventually we'll end up using a brass dome, because we're not going to then be critted, and we're going to have max res, and also have a little bit of block with the roomies. Now, the build isn't the most defensive. It's not going to have like capped spell block or anything. It has good fizz reduction because of our armor and the chaos golem, which gives fizz reduction. But it's not like the safest build in the world. Like, it's not totally spell block immune, but because it naturally is minions and you're the one that is, you're not the one, should I say, doing the fighting, you're just running around, it's pretty safe in itself, because obviously I can stand here and hide if it was a particularly rippy area and let my minions do the work. So I just figured I'd share this minion build. I'll throw a path of building up. I know a few people liked my bow build that I did. So yeah, I've been running around really doing this, and I've been enjoying it. If you want to know my opinions on the league and the nerfs and the buffs and all of the changes, I have a couple of videos on that. But for now, I've just been playing this elemental golem. Also, if you notice in the shield effect around me, so a couple of things I probably should note is we do the +2 skills for bandits. And this thing here is our Uber Ascendancy. And this basically means that we take 1600 less elemental damage when we get hit. And this kind of refreshes. So we have some mitigation, I suppose you would say, to make us a little bit tankier, especially when we get our brass dome. At the moment, I'm using a cheapo 6-link. This cost 12 chaos. and again this here. So there's not much money put into it, and the damage feels good. Like, I'm not just saying that as like a, oh yeah, it's a budget build that feels good. I understand that you do need to get some of the golem jewels, which at the beginning do seem expensive, but you don't need them at the very beginning. At the very beginning, your golems are more than strong enough to go ahead and kill some stuff. The extra cooldown just basically means they're going to be spitting out more stuff more often. As you can see, they're really railing out quite a lot of stuff right now. But up until that point, it's not going to be difficult to find 7 Chaos Orbs to get your first 1 or 2 of these. If you're wanting to know some ways to make money, if you go into Heist drops a lot of random gear. If you leave it un-ID'd, because it's low level, if you create a full set of items, so helmet, two-hander, ring amulet, boots, gloves, belt, chest, you get 2 Chaos Orbs if you vendor them all together. So yeah, doing the Chaos Recipe does actually help, because you do a few heist runs, you do the Chaos Recipe, and after you've done the Chaos Recipe literally 3 times, you've basically got enough to go ahead and purchase one of your jewels. You can also just go to your mine and head to the currency nodes with the bit of initial soul fight, and obviously you can just do little things like Keurig missions and just try and find some odd bits of currency to get you going. It doesn't need much. You know, the ring I'm using, I've found it doesn't even have life on it. You know, there's no life on this ring. This was like just a found ring that's sort of okay, not great. I put a resist on it. Like, nothing here is fantastic. I basically found the gear. My flasks are just 2 quicksilvers. I've not got anything done. But at the beginning of a league, you don't really need anything. And I have seen videos of this build scaled up, and it does work late game, so you don't need to worry about that. This will be more than enough to get you going to find some currency. So yeah, I figured I'd just share that. If you did enjoy it, leave a like, leave a comment. All right.